This is the Nomadic Traveler Podcast. Welcome to Nomadic Traveler Podcast. I am your host, Jason, and our lovely and wonderful, always present co-host,
Nicole. Hey, guys. My mic's on.
Yes, it's on this time, isn't it?
Look at me.
We're in business today. We're on top of things.
That's right. It's Halloween.
So it is Halloween. We are recording on Halloween. We took our kids out. We are in Indianapolis, as many of you know, and it was freezing here today, and it actually snowed.
Yes.
So we took our kids out in the snow and went trick-or-treating.
Got lots of candy.
And got lots of candy because they were the only dumb kids out there.
All the other parents were smart, went to the indoor place.
All the other parents were smart and went somewhere else, or they just bought bags. We talked to a lady, and she was like, I told the kids I would just buy them bags of candy. I was like, just pick whatever you want. I'll just buy you a bag of candy. Let's just stay inside.
You know, I think it probably built character in them, being out in the snow. Builds character.
My dude did really good, man. I was really surprised. Yeah. He was like, let's do this. And he was like running from house to house to house. Boom, 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 boom. He was like ready to go. He didn't care.
Oh, yeah.
He did not let that snow phase him one bit.
So,
I was a little surprised by that.
I was too, yeah.
So, speaking of snow, it is now that time of year that all of us as campers dread.
Dun, dun, dun.
And we need to winterize our campers. So, what we've decided to do is an episode about winterization. What do you do? What is winterization? How do you do it? If you take it to a RV dealer, what are they really doing for that money that they charge you? Could I be doing this on my own? And my answer is yes, you can.
Yes, and what else does it involve other than just working with the pipes and
what
the
else
water?
Is it? Yeah, other than injecting antifreeze into your water lines, because there is more to winterization than doing that.
Yes, trust me, guys, you'll want to hear this episode because I've learned so much as a newbie. So if you're a newbie out there,
Nicole got schooled.
There's a lot to learn. I did not know
Nicole
there
got
was
schooled
so
hard.
much to this. I think it was like 5 hours we worked the other day.
5 hours
camper?
plus a little bit of time that we spent with spray foam and stuff like that.
And we're not done.
The other day too. So yeah.
Yeah.
But you get better at it. So I don't want to say that, if you try to do this yourself, it's going to take you 7 hours, because it does not necessarily take 7 hours.
No.
So if you have everything all prepared and all ready to go, and then some of the stuff, like the spray foam and stuff like that, you only do that once. So
Right.
we're only doing that because the camper that we are using is new.
Well, and you had to learn new things about this camper because we never
And
have
there's
done
new
it before.
things, yeah. So once you do it the first time, it always takes the longest. And then after you roll through the first time, it's quite a bit easier.
For sure.
All right. So what is winterizing? So when you hear people talking about winterizing their camper, what is it? What's involved?
Well, I would say like at the most basic level, it's just getting all the water out of your camper and putting
That's
in
what
your
most
antifreeze.
people think it is.
Yeah.
That's all they think of.
That's what they think of.
So I have come to learn that it involves much more than that.
Yes.
So what's the first step, Nicole?
The first step in winterization?
Yeah.
The first step is getting all the water out.
Yes.
Yay! See, I'm right. I did learn.
So, yeah. So the first step would be to get all of water out. So you have hot lines and cold lines in your camper, okay? You have a city feed on the outside, so that's where cold water comes in, and then it feeds into the water heater. Then coming off the water heater, you are going to have a hot line, and then you're going to have a cold line. So the first step, I would say, which I did not do this year, but I will learn for next year, is we have low point drains on ours, and a lot of them have the low point drains down there. So you want to open up your low point drains. So ours has a cold side and a hot side sticking out on the bottom, and it's got like a little screw cap, and you loosen the cap, and it will let the water out of your system. Okay. On top of that, I bought a little adapter that allows me to blow compressed air through my lines. So what I would recommend doing, if you have the ability to have an air compressor or get some kind of compressed air, I recommend that you open up your caps on the bottom, you hook up your compressed air to your city hookup, and you easily pressurize your system, make sure that either you have a valve open at a sink. So maybe you have somebody inside that is going around opening up valves for you in the sinks and the showers, the toilet, whatever. And or you have your low point drains open, or maybe both. So if you don't have anything open and you start putting pressure into your system, your backflow preventer is going to hold a bunch of air pressure in your system, and you could blow a water line.
That would not be good.
So if you have your low point drain open, I would hook up your air compressor and easily, slowly kind of apply pressure to it, and you will hear it squirting out. It doesn't take a ton of pressure. You do not need to put 150 PSI on there. You just need to put, 20, 30, 40 PSI in there, where it's going to put something pushing that water out of there. So it's pushing it out of all the low points in the system, and it's going to push it all down to the bottom, and it's going to have it all drain out the bottom.
Yeah, I thought that little device was really cool, and it's pretty inexpensive, right?
I believe it is called a blowout plug.
Okay.
So it just basically screws into your city water hookup, or it'll screw onto any garden hose. I used it to push all the water out of my air filter as well, so I can screw it onto my air filter onto the female end, and then it provides a little adapter where you can put air nozzle up to it, and you can apply pressure to it. So it really worked very well on blowing out the filter.
Yeah.
So much better than I thought it was going to work. So I was able to push all of the water out of the filter, so that way I don't have my filter get cold and cracked and busted over the winter. Depending upon what kind of filter you have, if you have one of the cheapy blue throwaway ones, then I guess just throw it away and get a new one in the spring. That's what I would recommend. But if you have one of the more expensive, nicer ones, one of the 2-stage ones, then you can apply some air pressure to it and push all that water out of there, and then you're good to go for next year. You don't have anything sitting in there molding or, no issues.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. I thought that was really cool. I never have seen that before.
It worked really good, yeah.
Yeah.
And then I was also able to screw it onto a hose that we use that is coiled up all the time because we don't need it full length. So the hose has gotten trained in a coil, and it would not straighten out very easily. So as a coil, I was able to screw it onto one side, apply some pressure, and it pushed all the water right out of the hose.
So cool.
So it actually works great. So a blowout plug is what you want. It allows you to hook up an air compressor to your water line.
Yeah, that was
So let all your water drain out to the low point drains. Once all your water's out of there, just tighten up your low point drains really good. There is also a low point drain for your fresh water tank. So if you've filled up your fresh water tank at some point throughout the year, you need to make sure that you open that up and then let all the water drain out of that. And then I leave mine open all winter long. I leave mine open all the time. So once you've done all that, close up your system, and then you can go to your water pump if you have a newer system. So on ours, a lot of times other campers that I've had, my water pump is right next to my water heater. In this camper that I have, the water pump is not next to my heater, is actually in the kitchen. So I had to go find it in the kitchen. I had to pull a panel off. I had to unscrew a panel underneath my sink, and ta-da, there it is.
Yay.
Yay! Yeah, because I wasn't sure where it was. It was a little like, this is tricky. So, and if you can't find it, you can turn your water pump on for a second, and then you can listen for the sound that it makes, and then that'll kind of tell you what kind of cabinet it's hidden.
Yeah, and they didn't make it very easy to get to either, because you had to take all the drawers out.
I had to take the drawers out, and then I had to take a panel off underneath the kitchen sink in order to get to it. So, and I've had them where I had a Class A one time that had it underneath the couch. So you pulled the couch out, and then there was the freshwater tank underneath the couch as well as the pump.
Interesting.
So, and older units do not have this hose that I'm going to talk about, but ours has a valve in there. So the valve on the pump is generally pulling out of the fresh water tank. So you turn the valve, and then there's a little, I would say 2-foot hose connected to it with nothing on the end of it. So you turn the valve. So either the valve is in line with the hose that is coming out of your fresh water tank, or you can turn it to be in line with that hose that has nothing on the end of it. Okay. You crack open your bottle of antifreeze. You stick your hose all the way down to the bottom of your bottle of antifreeze. You go to your panel and you turn your pump on. Once you've turned your pump on, the pump will pump for a minute and it will pressurize your system. What you should do before this actually is go to your water heater and make sure that you have bypassed your water heater. So go find your water heater. There are valves in your water heater, and either the valves are facing the water heater, which is how it is on mine at least, or you can have them facing a loop. So the loop will bypass the water heater, and it basically ties your hot and your cold lines together, and it's not sending any fluid through your water heater. So there's a plug on your water heater, and that allows you to drain all the water out of your water heater.
Nice.
So going back to your pump, you got your hose in your bottle of antifreeze. You turn your pump on, your pump pressurizes, and then you can go to the valve that is the farthest from this pump. So you find the thing that is the furthest away, and you go and open it up. I let it pump, 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 pump. Usually it won't have anything in the system because you've let all the water all drain out or you've blown it all out. So there shouldn't be anything in there. So now you're going to run the pump until you finally get pink liquid coming out of your cold line. Let it run for a second, turn it off, do the same thing with the hot line. Let it run. You finally get pink liquid out of it. And then you're going to want to let it go long enough that you at least think that you have pushed all of the water out of your P-trap. So your P-trap is another area that you don't think about that can hold water and that can freeze and possibly bust. So you're going to want to, and I always like to get a little bit antifreeze into my tanks. So I always make sure that I empty my tanks, my black tank and my gray tank, get them as super empty as you possibly can. So take it to, a dump station, or like where we're at, we have a guy that comes by with a honey wagon and pumps it out. But I make sure that he leaves it open. I make sure that he drains every last little bit of it out of there. And then make sure that you run your faucets at every location long enough that you get, I don't know, maybe a half gallon or so of antifreeze through there, so that you got good amount of antifreeze in your P-trap, which is your low point that keeps your sewer gas coming through in your sink, in your shower, in the sink in the kitchen. Mm-hmm. Don't forget outdoor kitchens. A lot of people have outdoor kitchens. You cannot forget to antifreeze or winterize that as well.
That, and also if you have like a washer or ice maker connected to your refrigerator.
Yeah, that's another thing too. We do not have a washer or an ice maker on our unit. You definitely need to do something with that. And in that case, you want to check with your manufacturer. So we have an ice maker, but it's a completely separate ice maker that just like sits on a counter, and you can just like take the thing and turn it over and dump all the water out of it. Mm-hmm. So that's what we do every time we use it. So it's always empty all the time. So it does not need winterization. Sure. So if you have a washer, then you probably need to pull your lines, your hot and your cold line, feeding that in the back. And then you also need to make sure that you dump some antifreeze down in whatever drain that you have for the washer.
Yeah. What can they do if they don't have like the internal pump? Like if they don't have a pump in their camper, an older one?
They will likely have the pump.
If you don't have a
bypass. What they won't
bypass.
have is the little bypass hose, yeah. They do sell kits. You can buy them on Amazon, and you can buy them at Camping World, any of your friendly RV stores. Okay. And you can buy those, and you can basically you cut the line, and then you put one in there. It's a little T valve, so you would cut your line where it goes into your from your pump into your fresh water tank. You cut that line, you put your little T on there, and then you put your little hose on the T, and then it comes a little valve. So you just take your valve and you turn it from sucking out of the fresh water tank to sucking out of your hose. And then that's how you can do that. So they also have a pump that you can do. If you want to manually do it and you don't want to do the adapter, or say your pump doesn't work, or you're always on city water and you just never use your pump, you can go outside. This is not nearly as much fun. And now that I've figured out the pump method, I don't ever do the manual method anymore. But you can go outside. There's a manual pump that you can buy at Camping World or wherever you want to go. You put one end of the hose into one of your antifreeze jugs, and then you hook the other end up to your city hookup. And then you have somebody on the inside that opens up your valve that is the furthest away again, and then you manually pump antifreeze through the system until it's coming out of whatever orifice you're using. Same thing. Do the cold side, do the hot side, move to the next one, do the cold side, do the hot side. And you just got to stand outside and manually pump the fluid through there.
Oh, wow.
So it's a lot more work and it takes a lot more time. So once you have figured out the system with using your pump, it makes life so much easier. So much easier. So, and I really think that if you have a little bit of mechanical ability, you can probably get in there and cut that and stick that little T in there and be able to make your system have this. Or maybe pay a RV dealer to put one in for you. And then once it's in there, then, because it'll probably cost you the same amount to have that put in as it will to have your camper winterized once. And then from then on, you can do the winterization yourself, and you're not paying the dealer to do it and waiting 6 weeks for them to fit you in and all that kind of good stuff.
That makes sense.
What are you saying?
So is there a way, I just totally lost my train of thought now that you went off into this tangent.
Sorry.
Because I started thinking about, like, I wonder if that's why they make it so hard to find. So that you'll just be like, oh, you do it.
I'm sure, yeah. And then people probably think, oh, it's just $100. It's no big deal. But then if you think if you're going to keep this thing 5, 10, 15 years, then that's $100 times 15 years. Now you've paid $1,500 to have this thing winterized every year.
Yeah, it's quite
when
a bit
you
of
can
money.
do it for the cost of buying some antifreeze, and then you can just do it yourself, spend a couple hours.
Sure.
So if you have a traveling partner, while you are going around trying to winterize the lines, you got a partner that can open up your valves for you, and then they can maybe be emptying out the refrigerator, emptying out your pantry, stuff like that. We'll come up to that next.
So, I remember the question I had.
Yeah.
So can you ever put too much antifreeze in? Or would you ever know if you did?
In my opinion, you cannot. So
just curious.
You just want to keep pumping it through, and I bought 6 gallons, 5 gallons?
I think it was 5, yeah.
I think it was 5. So I bought 5 gallons, and basically it probably takes about 2 gallons just to winterize your lines, okay? I use the extra 3 gallons to make sure that I'm pumping an extra amount through all my P-traps, and I get, a gallon. I have 2 gray tanks and 1 black tank. So I try to get about a gallon worth of antifreeze sitting in both those tanks. So if there is any residual water sitting in there, it's mixing with it, and it keeps it from freezing and cracking anything.
I didn't know if it got too full, if anything bad would happen.
I mean, if you pumped 40 gallons of antifreeze into your black tank or something like that, you made it full somehow, then yes, that could be a problem.
Yes.
So, but likely, depending upon how big your camper is, you probably won't ever need more than maybe 6 gallons, I would guess.
Okay.
So even if you got a pretty big camper and you have pretty long lines, I don't think that you would ever need more than that.
Cool. And you never put it in your fresh tank, correct?
I do not. So I have seen that apparently some people do like to put some in there because they're worried about residual water sitting in there. But like I said, that's why I leave my valve coming off my fresh tank underneath my low point drain. I just leave that open. I make sure all the water comes out of there. So if your camper is level and the tank is sitting in there, all of your water should just run out of your low point drain. That's what it's designed for. So you should not have to put any in there, and I try not to put some in there. I know a lot of people don't drink the water in their camper. They usually get bottled water or whatever, but I do like to be able to maybe make ice, with the fresh water on my camper. I do like to be able to cook with it. So I would like to not have any amount of antifreeze mixed in, even though I think the antifreeze that you use in RVs is supposed to be non-toxic.
Yes.
I would like to not have to worry about that.
Right.
Even if it, wasn't non-toxic, it still might taste a little funny.
It's just the thought of it.
It's just the thought of it. Yeah. I would rather not.
Yeah. And the antifreeze is not the same antifreeze that you use for like your car.
It is not your car
things.
antifreeze. Do not use car antifreeze. You want to use marine and RV antifreeze that is non-toxic. So, and then another thing that I noticed is we were going around trying to find antifreeze, and because we got this cold snap early in Indiana, I think everybody went around and bought it all up. So they had to go to Meijer and go in the back and bring us some antifreeze out. So I checked to make sure it was RV antifreeze. It was RV antifreeze, but what I didn't realize is once we got up to the checkout, this was glycol or something like that. So it's cold. It was better down to colder temperatures. So it's a better antifreeze.
Lower freezing point.
Lower freezing point, yeah. So, but I don't normally buy that. So I buy the stuff that's good down to like 30 or something like that. This stuff was good down to -50. I'm sorry, -30, not 30. So it was good down to -30, and the stuff that I got was down to -50, but it also costs more. So you can usually, the regular stuff I think is about $1.50 a gallon. The stuff that I got was like $3 a gallon. So I didn't realize it until I'm already at the checkout. Whatever. I didn't see all the other stuff. We're good to go down to -50 now. So
So we can take it to Antarctica.
So we can take it to Canada, Antarctica, wherever we want. Yeah. So,
I'm not going there.
So you're not going to go?
No.
Oh. You probably only go through about a whole entire tank of propane every single day. Try to heat that thing.
Yes. Okay. So would you say that's the process of using the antifreeze and getting all the water
So that's
out?
basically the process. So the other part of that process is you need to go out to your water heater. There's a plug on your water heater. Mm-hmm. So I want to say it's a 1 3/8 inch ratchet. So I have a special ratchet that it's like a breaker bar. If you guys know what a breaker bar is, it's just a bar that hooks up to one of these sockets, and that's all I use it for. So I don't use other tools. I keep it in the camper all the time. And on mine, I believe mine is a Nomadic water heater. That's also, the plug is also the anode rod. So I use that. I can pull out my anode rod anytime that I want to. I can flush my camper if I'm, using it a bunch during the summertime. Periodically, you should take that anode rod out and flush any of the sediment that builds up in your tank out. So I have this rod. It stays with the camper, and it only removes the plug/anode rod from your water heater. Okay. Mm-hmm. So you unscrew that, you pull out your anode rod. Your anode rod is a rod of sacrificial metal that allows things in the water that would eat your tank to eat this sacrificial rod instead. So I believe Domestics are the only ones that have them. I think Atwoods are the other ones. I believe, don't quote me on this, but I think the Atwoods are the ones that only have a plastic plug and do not have an anode rod. So I personally replace my anode rod every season. So my anode rod was not completely spent. They're not that expensive, but I put a fresh one in every year because you never know how much you're going to use it every year. Mm-hmm. So, and if you use all your anode rod up, whatever's in the water that eats your anode rod will start eating your tank.
And you don't have to have something else to remember to check throughout the summer,
Correct.
throughout the year.
Yeah. So I basically take mine out and I hang on to it just in case I haven't bought one by the time I come around in the spring and I want to fill it up and use it for a weekend or something like that. That way I'm not stuck. But essentially, I try to have one bought over the winter at some point, and then I stick a new one in the camper, and it's just sitting there ready to go. Perfect. So when I come by in the spring, I'm ready to de-winterize it. I get to take my new anode rod, I put some new Teflon tape on it, and I screw it in, and we're good to go.
Awesome.
So when you drain all the water out of your water heater and you have it bypassed, you don't need to do any antifreeze in there. So all of the water will glug, 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 run out of where your anode rod hooks up, and you no longer need to worry about that freezing and busting.
Cool. That's good.
So what's next?
So is that it? Are we done now that we did all that?
Yes, we're completely done. Everything's done. Show's over. Goodbye, everybody. It's nice talking to everyone.
No, I was there during this part. I know there was more.
Let's see. So what do you want to go on to next?
Well, there's lots of things. So also winter affects your tires as well, just like in your car.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. They can lose some air pressure. You may want to double check your air pressure before you park it for the fall. You can get flat spots. Some people believe in jacking up the trailer so it's not sitting on the tires all winter. My school of thought on this is that you replace your tires every 5 years maximum anyways, or at least that's how often you're supposed to replace your tires on your camper. You're not supposed to be going past 5 years. So they are going to dry rot or wear out or whatever else before it's likely to get flat spots. At least that's in my opinion. You can do however you like. I've never had a problem with tires getting flat spots in them. So okay. I usually, fill them up so they're good and nice and full of pressure and round. And then, I don't know. I don't worry about them getting flat spots. So, but I do recommend putting tire covers on it because there is still sunshine in the winter and you are still going to get sun on there. So if you put tire covers on there, it's going to protect them at least half the year. If you don't put tire covers on in the summer too, that protects them from getting dry rotted.
Okay.
Because you're not getting the sun beating on that tire, and that's what causes it to crack.
That makes sense.
So I do recommend covering them up.
Very cool. Yeah.
So I do also like to lubricate my stabilizing jacks. So that's another thing that I try to do kind of in the fall. So then in the spring, when you're all rip-roaring and ready to go, you don't have to do anything in the spring. Yeah, I try to do all the crappy stuff, I guess, if you want to call it that, in the winter.
Yeah, because who wants to come back and get ready and excited for camping
Yeah,
season?
because in the spring, you're like raring to go. You're like, let's go. I want to take this thing out. I've been dying. I got cabin fever.
Yeah, and then be stuck.
And like, oh, crap, I got to do this. I got to do that. I got to do that. That's why I'm saying I try to have my anode rod ready to go so I can slap that thing in there, I try to have everything all greased up and ready to go. So I do lubricate my jacks. Another thing that I just came across this year that I hadn't thought about is people recommend leaving your stabilizer jacks up. I have left mine down in the past, but that provides another point for mice to get in your camper. That's another big thing we're going to talk about is how to prevent mice from getting in your camper. So this school of thought that I read is that you should leave your jacks up because then that provides 4 less spots or 6 less spots as it may be for the mice to try to climb up and get in your camper. So it gives them 1 less runway to get up in there. So they can still climb up your tires and your suspension, and they can climb up your jack in the front. I also saw where people put like a round thing, kind of like a bucket or something, around their jack stand. And they said that kept the mice from climbing up the jack stand and getting in the camper. I don't know how they don't just climb up the bucket or whatever you're using.
Yeah.
I don't know if this actually works or not. I have not tried that. I do not do that on mine. I have seen people that do lubricate. So they'll spray it down with like some kind of lubricant on the outside of it, and then that makes the mice not be able to climb up it.
Up the bucket or up
So,
the...
No, up the just
jack.
the shaft, the jack shaft. So we're talking about the main jack shaft in the front. So
That's not bad for it
if
at
you
all?
make it. No, like I would use like some kind of like white lithium grease or something like that would be good for it anyways.
Okay.
So, and then that also makes it all nice and slippery so they can't climb up, and that gives them 1 less access point.
That's a
So
good idea.
that's one other thing to think about, to consider. I have not done that myself, so I've not proven that theory, but it's just something that I read that I thought, I might give that a try this year. So if you have a Class A or B or C or something with an engine, you need to worry about your engine. So you need to make sure that I would run all the gasoline out of your engine, or I would definitely at least treat it. So you do not have gas that is going bad if it's going to be sitting for 6 months, 8 months, who knows how long. I'm not sure where you live. Colder areas, you sit longer. So I would run all of the gasoline out of it. And then the same thing, I always try to do everything in the winter. So I would change your air filter in the winter. I would change your oil. I would get everything ready to go. So that way when you come back in the spring, you have less things that you have to worry about. That's another area that you have to worry about mice getting into. So whatever system that you want to try to get rid of mice, we're going to give you some pointers, but there does not seem to be any one definitive way to keep mice away from your camper. So it seems like there's ways to minimize risk, but there is no way to definitively say you will not have mice if you do this. So I do not have the rock solid, do this and you're good system for you.
Because I don't think that exists.
It basically does not exist, no. And I've done a lot of research on it, especially this year. I had mice get in my camper last year real bad. It's very frustrating. So, and they basically can ruin everything. They can do lots of damage to a very expensive camper.
Very
So
true.
if you are doing nothing for mice and you've been lucky before, you haven't had mice get in your camper, I'm here to tell you that you got lucky. And one of these years you will have mice get in there, and I've had them chew up wires. I've had them chew up water lines. I've had them chew up drain lines. I've had them chew up my furniture, chew up cabinets. They will chew up anything and try to make bedding and then try to have babies in your camper. And then them and their babies are all running around inside your camper all winter long while you think it's all buttoned up and waiting for you to come back in the spring. And then you have a nice mess to come back to and clean up in the spring.
Not to mention just the smell.
And then there's the smell of the mice.
There's a certain smell.
They stink.
Yeah.
They stink. Their poo stinks. They pee everywhere. They pee all over your sofas, all over your countertops. It's gross.
It's disgusting.
Yeah, it's not good at all. So anything that you can possibly do to try to prevent mice, I highly, highly, highly recommend it.
I feel like I love this area. I don't know why it's so exciting to me. So I'm really excited for us to get to that point. Where
You love mice?
No, no. I love all the different tricks and tips that you can do to get them out. And I'm
Yes.
excited to see if they all work this year.
Yes.
So
one thing that we've read a lot about, which I will do while we're on the engine part of it, is people believe in soaking cotton balls in mint or spearmint oil, right?
Is peppermint?
Or peppermint oil.
Yeah.
Peppermint oil. So they claim that this works. So this is one of those old wives' tales. I have not proven this myself, but I've read good things about it. So you take your peppermint oil, you douse your cotton ball in it really good. This is something that you're going to need to redo periodically throughout the winter because it's all going to dry out. And you take these cotton balls and you leave them around all over in your engine compartment. And that will keep them from getting in there, chewing on your wiring, chewing on your hoses, because that's another big thing. They'll chew on your antifreeze hoses and stuff like that. And you go start up in the spring and you have a big leak.
Yeah.
So do something to protect your engine bay, because it's not just inside that you got to worry about. You also have to worry about your engine bay.
And that's a nice way to do it too, because that smells pleasant and it's a natural thing.
Correct.
So it's not going to be.
So I would do that as opposed to like mothballs or some of the other things that people generally recommend.
Yeah, for sure.
So
great idea.
Another thing I want to talk about too before we get to all our mousy business is moisture control. So when you button everything up for the winter, was it called damp rid, I believe? They have these things that look like a bucket, and you take the top off of it, and then it has like a membrane on it, and I believe it's called damp rid. And so all you do is open it up and set it on a counter. You might want to get a couple of them. If you got a couple of rooms in your camper, maybe set one in each room or something like that. I did this last year. It seemed like it worked pretty good. Came back in the spring, and the bucket was completely full of water. So whatever is in the damp rid bucket attracts water. So now I don't know if I would have gone by there and periodically checked on it, if I could have dumped the water out, and if it would have just keep filling up, or if it fills up once and that's it, and that's all it works.
Yeah.
So, but I do know it does work, and it will pull the moisture out of your trailers.
That's great.
So yeah, so I highly recommend at least one or two of those. Maybe a dehumidifier if you have power hooked up all winter. I don't know. I'm considering trying an actual dehumidifier in mine this winter to try to make sure I keep the moisture level down.
Yeah. And even with those, you have to go and empty them out.
And even with that, you still need to go and empty it out. So, and what we're also going to talk about later too is the surefire way to make sure that your camper is well taken care of is you need to go by and babysit it. You need to take care of it. You cannot go park it somewhere and leave it for 6-8 months and then expect everything to be fine. You are likely to have issues. Yeah. So also, if you find that you have a moisture problem or a rodent problem, you can get on top of it right away, as opposed to letting it fester all winter long. And you have 6 months of a water problem, or you have 6 months of a mouse problem, and now you have a huge problem where if you would have gone by there and visited once a month, or maybe every 2 weeks would be even better, that prevents all that from happening to you. So campers are expensive, and it's a recreational thing. You want to use it as like a vacation spot, so you don't want it to get ruined. So
right,
a little prevention goes a long way.
Agree. And if you ever want to trade it in to upgrade or whatever, you want it to be as nice as possible.
Yeah, you want to get as much value out of that thing as you possibly can.
Yeah.
What's next?
So some other things that you need to do, aside from all of that, is in the interior. So this was my kind of little thing to do, my little checklist when I was helping with the camper. You need to make sure that you're getting all of the food out. So,
all of the food.
Yes. Not just from the fridge and the freezer, but everything.
All of the food. Including what, Nicole?
Including toothpaste, soap. So what I was reading and what I've learned is that if there's nothing in your camper, so there's no food at all, if they're going to get in your camper, it's going to be warm in there compared to outside, and they're going to want to find something else to eat off of. So they might go to shampoo, they might go to toothpaste, they might go to lotions, and they're going to eat those things to survive because they've already gotten into a warm camper. So you want to take all of that home with you. And the good thing, I was thinking about that because I was like, oh, that's kind of a hassle. But really the good part about it is then you know what you have when you're going back in the spring.
Yeah.
So you're like, oh, do I have toothpaste? Let's see. It's going to be like, okay, you bring everything home, you put it in a box, and you label it camping or whatever.
Yeah.
And then you take it with you. And
maybe
you know
get some plastic totes or something
Yeah,
like that. Get some plastic totes, label them all out,
Mm-hmm.
and then maybe take the toothpaste that's already almost used up, you throw it away, and then you go out and buy you a new tube. Stick it in there. Now you're ready to go for spring. Like I said, I try to get everything out of the way in the fall, so in the spring you're like, all right, now all we gotta do is load up and go and enjoy.
Yes, and then you want to make sure that you are cleaning, which this is another part of enjoying it when you come back. You want to come back to a fresh camper.
Yeah.
But like, kids, they sit on the couch, they eat crackers. So making sure that all the crumbs that are on the inside of the couch, if it's a pull-out couch, pulling it all the way out, getting all underneath it and in the crevices, and making sure that you're getting you're not going to get every piece of crumb, but these mice really know how to reach these things, and they can, I don't know how they do it.
The name of the game is try to make your camper less attractive than your neighbors, which is an unfortunate way of thinking about it, but it's a dog-eat-dog world out there, and if you want your camper to stay nice, you need your camper to be as vanilla and dull as possible when it comes to a mouse.
For sure. And this is a great way to do that, is just to make sure that there's nothing lingering. You can also put some like baking soda in the fridge. And then you're also going to keep your fridge open a little bit. You're not going to leave it all the way open, but a little bit.
You can leave it all the way open if you want.
Yeah. So just really trying to make sure that you're cleaning like every countertop, sweeping the floors really good, getting everything out of there. They say that canned goods are kind of the only thing to leave. But I just would suggest just taking it all.
I suggest taking everything out too. Yes, if you do have canned goods are the one thing that the mice cannot get into.
Yeah.
But anything else they can get into. If it's some kind of a plastic bag, plastic container, like sugar in a plastic container, they will chew through the plastic container and get at your sugar. They will get at your flour.
And it's even spices too. Spices or condiments, ketchup, mustard, all those things. You need to get them out.
Anything in a plastic bottle they can get into.
Yeah, and they will, because they've already fought to get inside of your camper.
Yeah.
And then they're going to be like, well, I'm here. I have lots of warmth.
Like, I got this nice mansion going on.
Yeah, like this is my place. So that's a really great idea to make sure that you're doing that. So the other portion that was my kind of thing was cleaning off the roof. So that's my favorite thing to do. I don't know why I love it.
I don't know why you like that either, because that's not my favorite.
If anyone else loves that out there, comment or let me know how you feel about it.
Like to clean your roof. Actually, I do kind of like it too, now that I think about it, because I like having a nice clean roof. And I like when you go up there and scrub it and it looks a little dirty, and then you get some good cleaner and you go up there and scrub it and it's all nice and white again. You're like, yeah.
It's like satisfying. I don't know what's satisfying about it, but when you're up there like sweeping. But so just making sure that everything's swept off. I know when we were at the campground the other day, I was looking at everyone's roof because it's just now fall, and so all the leaves are falling.
Everyone's roof had like 4 inches of leaves on top of it. Ours was the only one that did not have leaves on top of it.
And branches. I mean, because branches fall off when it starts getting colder
all that
too.
Kind of stuff, yeah.
Yeah, and so just getting up there and getting all that off, especially so that you can close your slide-ins too, but also just making sure that it's clean up there.
Yeah, by the way, side note, if you are not going up there and sweeping off your slides every time, and you do not have slide topper covers, you are pulling things into your camper that are going to screw up your seals, and it's going to make your seals fail prematurely.
Yeah.
So if you do not have slide out toppers and you are pulling unless you've been somewhere overnight, short of being somewhere overnight, if you've been sitting somewhere for a week or something like that, you need to go up there and sweep it off and make sure that there is not things on top of your slide outs before you close them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I mean, if you're someone that's not able to do that, I know that a lot of campgrounds offer that as a service. I know ours was offering that, because I know some people are not. It's kind of hard to get up there. So if you are having trouble with that,
physically able to, or you're not of the age where you feel like climbing ladders anymore,
because it can be a little scary.
Hire a young buck to climb up there for you, and he will take care of all that.
Or she, call me.
A young buckette.
Call me and I'll come clean your roof, because I enjoy it.
Call Nicole up. If you're located in the Indianapolis area, Nicole will swing by and
for sure
sweep your roof off.
I will.
Try to keep mice from coming in.
For sure.
All right, what's next?
So something else that you want to do in the exterior as well is you want to check around all the doors and the windows and everything and see if there's any crevices that are maybe missing some caulk, or just have a little opening there, and you want to make sure that you seal all of that up.
Mm-hmm.
For multiple reasons, not just mice.
But mainly water intrusion.
water, mice, moisture, whatever can get inside of there.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I don't think we really had that problem, but
Ours is pretty new.
over time,
I do check
yeah.
mine every year. So, and I usually have to do it a little bit every year.
Mm-hmm.
So ours is just not that old, so I didn't have to do it this year.
Yeah. You also want to let out your awning and clean it with special awning cleaner, not dish soap or laundry soap.
Not dish soap, yeah. That's right.
Yeah, so clean that up real good, and then make sure that you let it air dry if you can. You really want it to stow it as dry as possible.
Yes, let it dry as much as possible.
Mm-hmm. So that's a good idea. We didn't do that yet. I bet that's fun too.
I opened it.
But we didn't clean it.
No, I didn't actually clean it, but I did clean it the time before that when we were there.
Oh, that's true.
So it had been cleaned recently, but
Yeah.
I did not clean it this time.
That's
So I just try to get it as dry as possible. My main thing is trying to get it dry.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, the longer it sits in there where it's wet and dirty and stuff like that, that will turn into like black streaks on your awning, and it makes it look unattractive.
Yeah.
So if you want it to last a little longer, if you want it to be a little more attractive, clean it up before you park it for the winter.
Yeah. And then something else that you should do as well is take a look at your batteries. So making sure that they are maintained, like they have the full fluid levels that they need to be topped off, things like that. Some people suggest too, like bringing them in if you're not going to use them.
If you are not going to use it, I mean, I don't actually ever do it, but I probably should. I would bring mine in. The best way to do it is pull it out and put it on a battery tender. So they actually have something that's, I think the brand name is Battery Tender, and it's like green, and you plug it in and it puts it on a trickle charge and it keeps it charged up, and it has a little electronic device in there that knows when it's full. And then when it gets down to like 80 or 90% again, it triggers it back on, tops it back up to full, and then it turns off. So the thing that damages batteries is if you have it on like a trickle charger that does not cycle like that, and it's just constantly charging all winter long, what that does is it slowly boils the water out of your battery, and then it eventually ruins your battery. So I think most modern campers, the onboard charger has the ability to do a trickle charge, and I think it has the ability to recognize when it's full, and it trickles on and off all winter long, I believe, if you are sitting hooked up to power. Now, if you're not sitting hooked up to power, then absolutely you need to pull the battery.
Yeah, which is...
So, and, you know, I've had people tell me that it's not good to leave it hooked up to power all the time. So,
yeah,
I mean, if your converter is constantly charging your battery, then yes, it's going to ruin it. Mm-hmm. So my last camper, I left it in there all the time, and I was a crappy owner, and I didn't check the water and stuff like that, and my other battery lasted 5 years.
That's pretty good.
So, and that's about how long they last anyways, at least in the north up here. So
yeah,
you generally get about 5 years out of a battery.
Yeah.
So I never checked mine, but you should not be like me. You should be better than me.
And then also you can use an RV cover. So this is... Yeah.
We got a cover. We're going to put it on. We got some service work that we're going to be doing to our camper, so we're going to be pulling it out. So we have not put it on yet. But once it gets done getting all of its service work, we are going to put a cover on there. So if we think about it, hopefully we will try to make some kind of a video when we put our cover on, so you can watch us fumble through putting our cover on, because I'm sure it'll be a little comical.
Yeah, I'm a little interested to see how it's going to work.
So yeah, we have not done that yet, but that's coming up.
But if you do that, if you do that, then you might want to think about moisture and things that could build up like in between the cover. So making sure that it's vented as well when you're putting it on.
Make sure that you get a vented cover.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you can buy a cheaper cover that is non-vented. Tarps are not a good thing, so they do not recommend putting tarps on there. So
I've never seen that.
Yeah, some people like wrap it with like one of those blue tarps or something like that to try to keep snow and stuff off of it.
Yeah.
But it's not good for it. It can trap it. It's not breathable at all. So it can trap everything between the tarp and the camper.
That makes sense.
And then not to mention they're slightly rough, so they can kind of dull your finish.
Yeah.
Because you get that wind all winter long that's rubbing up against it, and it dulls your finish out.
I saw someone the other day with saran wrap. It was a picture of saran wrapped camper. Thought that was interesting. But imagine if
they shrink wrapped it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder if that works.
I mean,
that seems like the same thing. It seems like it would seal all the moisture up against the camper.
There's no airflow.
See, that doesn't seem like a good idea to me.
Yeah. So get a cover.
If you have a shrink-wrapped camper, please let me know how it works out for you, because I would be very interested in knowing that.
And also, how did you do that?
And also, how did you do that? How much does it cost? Is it worth it?
Because that's pretty cool.
I do know that they shrink-wrap boats. I do know that's how they
That's
store
right.
boats in the winter. They shrink wrap the crap out of them. So it might be okay. Mm-hmm. I don't know. So yeah, if you have any experience with that, or if you have a boat that has been shrink wrapped, tell me how they do that and how it works out for you and how the boat does not get damaged from holding moisture inside of it all winter. So
Yeah.
I would be very interested in that.
Also, if you have experience putting on a cover
Yeah.
and you feel
If
knowledgeable
you have
about
any
that,
tips, let us know.
please let us know. We would love to hear
Like I
about
said,
that.
we are going to fumble through that.
So I think next we should probably talk about all of our beautiful ways to prevent rodents in your camper.
So
What do you think,
it's rodent time.
Ugh.
You are the next contestant on how to keep rodents out of your camper.
Ding, ding, ding.
Ding, ding, ding. It's
Pick me.
miserable thing to get rodents in your camper.
Yes.
So, fill all medium and small sized holes with spray foam. Larger holes you will need to cram with steel wool. So, they do have the spray foam that you can get does come in different sizes. So they have the ones that are, I think it's 1 inch and less, and then like 1 to 5 inches or something like that, I believe is how they go. So, and it will foam up more. The foam expands more to fill up a larger hole.
Yeah.
So if you have a great big giant hole, then yeah, you're gonna want to do something to close that up more, and then also use spray foam.
And I have a tip with that.
Use the mice spray foam.
No, but yes.
They do have spray foam that has a mouse deterrent in it, and it has metal chips mixed in with the foam, so that they will not eat the foam. It has the metal chips in them, and that deters the mice as well. So I also recommend that.
Well, that's
That's
great
what
one.
we used.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I recommend not doing this on top of gravel. If you're going to be under your camper, filling it with foam.
If at all possible, get on concrete because it does make it easier to get around.
Yeah, because it's very hard to get under there. Also, tie your hair back, ladies, because you don't want that stuck in your hair.
Nicole got spray foam all over.
I mean, it was kind of fun because
I
I felt
actually
like,
got it all over me too, but it was not fun. I
okay,
highly disagree with that. Do not listen to Nicole. This was not fun.
it felt like you were like a mechanic for the day or something because you have to really get under there.
It took me 5 days to get it off
Yeah.
of my skin.
Okay,
It stuck
don't
to
get
my
it-
skin like super glue.
No, I'm not saying getting it on you's fun. That was terrible.
Oh, doing it and climbing around on the ground? Okay.
Yeah, but make sure that you do it somewhere. And can't you? I think you can. Yeah, getting it on
Nicole
you
got
is.
to feel like a mechanic for the day.
It was kind of nice. Like you get to crawl up under there and feel like you're doing something.
That's hilarious.
But if you do it, like I think if you do it on a level like surface, like a paved surface, can't you like raise part of the camper and then have more room to get up under there?
What you could do is what
You
I've
know.
done before in the past, and when you're doing the front, turn your jack all the way up in the front, and that gives you more space in the front. And then when you're doing the back, let your jack all the way down, so it kind of puts your rear end up in the air.
Yeah.
And then that gives you more space in the back to be able to work on it. So we just kind of did ours when
Yeah.
it was all level.
Because I'm pretty sure I got gravel foam.
You got
to my
gravel
arm.
foamed to yourself, yes.
So terrible. Anyways, so
And
this
this is one of those things that you really only got to do once. So
Yeah.
once you have gone around and foamed it, you need to double check it every year in the fall. But once you've got it all foamed in real good, then you're basically good to go.
Yeah.
So this is kind of a one-time thing. So yes, it sucks. Yes, it's a pain in the butt, but it works and it helps a lot. So I mean, anywhere you need to go through the whole entire thing where your sewer drains come out and it pokes through that underbody underneath. You need to foam around that. Anywhere where there is larger than a half-inch gap, mice are going to get through.
You know what would be a good idea is when you take it in for service. If it is newer, if you take it in for service, or even once a year, if you take it in for service, that first year that you take it in, doing it then, if you could.
What do you mean, use their parking lot there?
Yeah,
Well, yeah, you could get away with that. Yeah.
if they let you.
Yeah.
I don't know if they
probably
would.
care.
But
Yeah,
anyway.
because if you have a creeper, if you guys know what a creeper is, it's something you use to roll around underneath cars. That would make foaming underneath your camper much easier because you could roll around on the creeper.
Yeah, that's
So,
true.
but like I said, you do this once. Once this is done, then that part of it is over. You just want to double check and make sure that all your spots are full every year. But generally, you're not going to need to do this year after year.
Yeah.
So, step 2, traps everywhere.
Traps.
You want lots and lots and lots of mouse traps. The number one thing that works is good old-fashioned steel snap traps.
Yes.
That is what you are going to want. So you want to put them all over the place. So if they get in there, you are catching them and killing them immediately before they do damage. So you want baited traps. What do they say? Peanut butter?
Yes, peanut butter.
So you want to put peanut butter on your trap, and you want to have them everywhere. You want to put them along outside walls. Mice generally, when they're going through a room, usually work their way around the outside wall. They are more vulnerable. So their way of thinking about it is like if they're in a field or something like that, if they're out in the middle of the field, they are more vulnerable to a snake or to a hawk or to natural predators if they're out in the middle. They like to work their way around the edges. So it kind of gives them a place to hide, and it's harder for them to be seen.
Which is another good reason to make your camper clean. Because if there's nothing out in the middle of the room or on the floor, if everything's put away, they are going to stay to that edge because they're going to have nothing to cover under.
Yeah.
So.
Yes.
Just saying.
So, and set your traps around the outside edges, and I recommend doing lots of them. So, I mean, I would do like 8 or 10.
But also another good reason to come back and check often, because if you do catch some and you never come back to check it, they're going to rot.
They're going to rot, and your camper's going to be full of mouse deadness.
Bones.
So, one tip that I read recently that I think is an awesome tip is put your trap on a big piece of aluminum foil. So you lay your foil out flat on the floor, you put your trap on the foil, and then if they get caught, you take your foil and you wrap the whole entire thing up and you toss the whole thing away.
Genius.
So instead of having to touch that trap, instead of having to touch that dead mouse, you just wrap it all up. I mean, this might work with like newspaper possibly. You might be able to get away with doing a newspaper, but they recommended foil, and I think I would do that too, just for the little extra.
Well, I wouldn't do newspaper either because they might use that to make nests or something.
Yeah, true.
Well, I guess they could use foil too.
No, you should use but they don't eat foil. Foil's the one thing that seems to be a mouse retardant.
Yeah.
Is that steel wool, steel cans,
metal.
Metal is the one thing that they seem to not like.
For sure.
So
I like that. Yeah.
Go ahead.
If at all possible, like we said, store your camper on something concrete or a paved surface.
On a hard surface, yes.
Yeah, because it's going to be harder for them to get in.
The best thing is a hard surface where you are as far away from the edge as possible. So you don't want to be near any grass. You don't want to be near any trees. The furthest you can get. So if you were in, like, say, the middle of a Walmart parking lot, you want to be in the dead center of that parking lot. You want to be as far as possible away from any grass and any trees. That's the best spot where you can possibly be.
Yeah.
The worst spot that you can possibly be is in the woods somewhere or in a grassy field or something like that. You are just like inviting them to jump right up in there. So you are in their turf, you are in their home, you parked your home in their home, and now they're going to turn your home into their home.
Yeah, I guess. They should still not get in there, though.
That's not cool.
It's still my home.
It's not cool, mice. So I've been looking at this stuff, and I've been reading all the forums on Facebook and stuff like that, and everybody says, well, I just put a sign on there that says no mouse allowed, and they just stay out. I'm like, yes, I'm sure that works very well.
Right? Also, while you're doing all your winterization with the plumbing, you should check, like, around any plumbing holes, like where your pipes come in, any electrical holes, to make sure there's not like big gaps and big holes.
Yeah, all that stuff. Anywhere where wires come in, like ours has an electronic self-leveling system, which is amazing. But every single one of our jacks, which are power, now have wires that go from the jack up into the body. So those are additional holes that are in the body that we now have to ensure are not going to allow mice to get up in there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And there was a lot of big holes by the pump under the sink.
There was big holes. So once they get into the underbelly, then if you look around your camper, you will find that there are lots of large holes everywhere. When they cut a hole to bring plumbing up in there, they don't care. I mean, this is one thing. I'm very disappointed that the manufacturers don't do something more to try to help us out on this, because I feel like they just leave everybody very vulnerable. Well, and they cut like with a big giant 5-inch hole saw to bring a 2-inch pipe through. And then there's a 3-inch gap around it where the plumbing pipe came through. So
well, they might have to have space to get their hands in there and stuff too.
Maybe, but they could still do something. I feel like they could still do something to try to cover it up. Yeah. Metal foil tape. I mean, something to try to ensure that they're, protecting you a little more. I don't know. I'm sure that would drive up the cost of the campers. Then we'd all be paying more. But
yeah, and then you wouldn't buy a new one as quickly, maybe.
Probably, yeah.
So business. It is what it is.
It's business. It's all business.
You can also spray like bug and pest control around your seals and edges of your camper.
I like to do that, yeah, especially when I'm getting ready to close my slide outs up for the year. I spray a liberal dose of bug spray all the way around the slides, so that if anything happens to get in there, they are deterred and they want to go the other way. They don't want to go inside.
Yeah.
So it helps a little bit. Everything is just lowering the percentage of some kind of infestation. None of this is surefire. All these are just like putting the odds a little more in your favor.
Right, yeah. Also, because this next one is, we did this actually like in the middle of the summer. We bought electronic plugs.
We did this when we first got it, yeah.
Was it? Yeah. And so it like kind of makes a signaled noise out that we can't hear as humans, but animals can hear them and mice can hear them, and it's supposed to deter them out of your camper.
It makes some kind of high-pitched noise, yeah. So supposedly they don't like it.
We don't know.
I have heard people say they don't work. I've heard people say they work great. I don't know. I figure it doesn't hurt.
It was worth it for $10.
It doesn't hurt to have it in there, and maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. It's just, again, it's one of those things to, tilt those odds just slightly more in your favor.
Yeah, for sure. You can also use fresh cab. That's another deterrent that you can use around your camper.
I've heard lots of people say fresh cab works. I don't know for sure. Supposedly farmers swear by it. So this is what farmers use to keep mice out of all their combines and all their tractors and everything. They put fresh cab around everything.
That's a
and
good
supposedly
idea.
It works. And it's an all-natural remedy. It does not have any chemicals to it.
Good, yeah.
So supposedly it works. I've heard good things. I haven't heard anybody positively say, oh, look, we had fresh cab in here, and look, they used it for bedding or they ate it or something like that,
Yes. But something else they will use that I didn't talk about before was pet food. So that's another thing you need to remove.
Yeah, make sure you remove all your pet food because mice love pet food.
Even if it's in a
Cat
plastic
food,
container.
Dog food. Yeah, putting things in a plastic container does not work. I'm here to tell you it does not work. So you cannot take like all of your food and put it in a plastic container and then set it on your couch or something like that. They will get into that. They will chew through the plastic container and they will get your shit everywhere. And it's bad news.
Right. So definitely, because I never knew that they even cared about that kind of thing for the longest time.
Mice?
I didn't know that mice like pet food.
They love it.
That's weird. Get your own food. You're not
Cat
a dog.
food, dog food, they love it. They will eat the crap out of that stuff. Yeah, they like it a lot.
But yeah, so remove that along with the soap and the toothpaste and all those kind of things. I don't necessarily think they go for cleaning supplies. I think that's something that you are safe.
Generally, I think
leave.
you're okay with cleaning supplies. Yeah.
But I don't know if you want to remove some of that anyways with it being winter.
It wouldn't hurt, yeah.
You might not want some of it to freeze. I don't know. But yeah, definitely. Also, like checking the camper often while it's in storage is the next thing you need to do. Like we said, just keep repeating that over and over again. I don't know if you can go once a week or once a month or twice a month. However often you can get out there. If you're storing it in your backyard, that's going to be perfect.
If it's in your backyard, they recommend that the surest fire way to get the numbers the most in your favor and have the least likeliness of having an infestation is to check it every 2 to 3 days. Go out there, check your traps. If there is something in there, take the trap, throw it away, reset the trap, put a new trap in. Try to find where they're coming in at if you can. If you can't figure it out, keep resetting the traps.
Yes. Yeah. So just keep checking as much as you can.
Keep checking your water thing. Make sure that your water thing's working. If you got a dehumidifier, make sure you're emptying it. So the best way to do it would be, every 3 days. Next best thing would be every 2 weeks. Next best thing would be at least once a month.
Yeah. And if your camper...
Or at least a couple times over the winter.
Yeah. So I'm wondering too, like if your camper is at a campsite or a storage unit that's not close to you, maybe say it's an hour or 2 hours away, I'd always check with the office and say, hey, would you guys mind, going out there letting us know if you see anything in our camper? I don't know how likely they would be to do that. I don't know if they would want
to do that or not. I don't know.
Depends. I mean,
maybe for a small additional fee. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, they might. I mean, especially in the wintertime, if they want to make a little...
Because if it was going to cost you, $15 to drive there or something like that, it might be worth saying, hey, what if we give you $15 once a month just to go in there and just look? And if you see something, just call us or take a photo of it or something like that. And then we'll come down there and deal with it on our own. If everything's fine, then we don't have to waste the trip down there.
Or if you can make buddies with anyone there that's maybe staying there all winter.
If that's a campground, I'm just thinking like at a storage facility. I don't know if
I don't know that a storage facility would
Plus,
do
you would
it.
also have to give them a set of your keys.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. But a lot of campgrounds have people that stay year-round now. There's people that like live in campgrounds year round, even though it's the middle of winter, and they winterize their campers and they put skirting on them and,
Yeah.
they live in it. So if you can make friends with one of the people that are, full timers that live there year round, maybe they'll check your camper for you.
Well, and if you didn't take your camper out, skirting would be another way to keep mice out as well.
Yeah, I don't know how well that would work or not. I don't know. It
No?
might be enough. It might not be enough. I don't know if they could squeak through. I don't know.
I mean, I'm not
thought
saying to
about
be, foolproof.
It's another
but
thing, to
try.
put the odds more in your favor,
Yeah.
yes.
For sure.
So, is that everything?
That is all of our prevention for rodents.
Okay. Now it's time for today's Don't Do That. And today's Don't Do That is brought to you by me. And today's Don't Do That is, so I've been looking around and I've been reading all the forums and all the galleries and on Facebook and all the different areas where people talk about campers and what they're doing to winterize and stuff like that. The number one thing that I see suggested by people is they say to use Irish Spring soap. Mm-hmm. They put bars of Irish Spring soap around your camper and supposedly it deters mice. Recently, I've seen tons and tons and tons of pictures from people where the mice are eating the Irish Spring and chewing on it. So this is our number one. Don't do that. Don't use Irish Spring. It does not work. They do not care. And if it's the only food source, they will eat it.
Yeah.
Does not work.
Like we said, if they've already gotten in there to get warm, they're going to eat something.
Yeah. So the number two thing that we've seen that people swear by is dryer sheets. Take your dryer sheets, spread them all throughout the camper. They don't like the smell of it. They'll stay away. I've seen lots and lots of pictures now of people that have mice nests in their camper that they have found where they are using dryer sheets to make the nest. If they are nesting in it, they definitely do not care about the smell of it. Because if it bothered them, they would not be like making it where they're in close contact with it on a regular basis. So dryer sheets are another don't do that. And the biggest don't do that I was kind of surprised about is mothballs. Mothballs do not work. They also are hazardous to your health, to other people's health. They also let off a gas that is not good for anybody, for that matter. So we watched a video of a guy who does pest control, and he created a scenario in a chicken coop where he knew he had lots of mice, and he created a box with food in it, and it had a clear top, and he had a camera set up on it, and he filled the thing with like 50 mothballs. And what happens is in a confined area, the mothballs give off this chemical, and the chemical builds up in there, and that's supposed to be what is supposed to keep them away. So he started off with a few, built all the way up to 50, and even with 50 mothballs in there, the mice were still coming in there and spending periods of time in there eating food, like long periods of time. So it wasn't even like they would come in and eat something and run back out. They were spending long periods of time in there, so they don't care.
Yeah.
So it might give them cancer down the road, but it's definitely not keeping them out of your camper.
Yeah.
So our last don't do that is mothballs. They don't work.
And they stink.
And they smell horrible.
Yeah.
So.
And kids might think they're candy.
Yes.
I don't know why
that's another thing
fear.
too. Yeah. Nicole's big fear is that the kids are going to find it. Because like originally, see, I didn't realize they had to be in a confined space to build up gas. And that's what supposedly keeps them away. Mm-hmm. So I thought, well, maybe we'll just broadcast some mothballs all over the place underneath our camper. And apparently that's a violation of FDA rule. So you cannot broadcast them locally outside. That's a violation of use. So that's not within the FDA rules for using it. So don't do that because that's illegal. And we were also afraid that, kids would find them, pick them up, what's this, stick it in their mouth,
Yeah,
and that would be bad news. People's dogs, cats, squirrels, raccoons, the only thing we're really trying to keep out of the camper is mice for the most part. Raccoons and all these other things don't generally try to come into your camper. If you have a raccoon problem, call a pest control expert.
Yes, for sure.
So, all right. Anything else?
Perimeters.
Oh, yes. Yeah, that's another thing we looked into. Yeah, it was perimeters, which is basically where they use some kind of predator urine. So you would sprinkle predator urine all the way around your camper, and that supposedly would keep mice away. And I was really on board with this one. I thought, this is it. This is it. This is nature against nature.
Makes sense.
Yes, makes tons of sense. They come in there like, oh crap, I smell And I thought it was going to be coyote, but actually it should be like a fox, and fox would be their natural predator. And the same guy that did the test on the mothballs also did a test on predator pee, and he put food in the center and then put the predator pee all the way around it and set up a camera. They came right in. It didn't phase them whatsoever. They were not affected at all. So the predator urine also does not work. That's another don't do that.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, don't do that either.
So shout outs.
Yeah.
So we have picked up some new listeners, and I think we had Israel last time. But our newest one is Jordan. So we are very happy that we have listeners in Jordan. Thank you very much.
Shout out, Jordan.
Shout out in Jordan. And I think that's our most recent new one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think we picked up anything else that's necessary.
And thank you to all the same listeners that we've been having in all the same places.
Thank you, everybody. Yes.
We appreciate you guys. We love what we do, and we love making this podcast. And we love that you guys are enjoying it.
Did we have Maryland before?
Maryland?
I think we did, didn't we?
Yeah, but we had it like once, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, we got a bunch of downloads in Maryland this time. So
Shout out Maryland.
We love you.
Yeah.
So, and we are going to do a contest. We haven't done it yet. We needed to get on the stick. So we got some books from
Mia
Lorenzo, yes.
With the
and what is it? Do you have a book?
SoFlo Indie?
With the SoFlo, the SoFlo Weird Show,
yeah,
is what it's called. So we basically got some books from her that they wrote with Charlie, who was the guy that she was talking about on her episode, and we have books that we are going to give away. So why are we going to give you books? Because we need something from you.
Yes.
So we are looking for show ideas. So we're going to make a formalized video about this, but I figured I'd go ahead and announce it now. So we are going to make a contest out of this, and we want you to give us show ideas. So if you can come up with something good that we should do an episode on, send it to us. Send it to us on our email, the Nomadic Traveler, there's no nomadictraveler@gmail.com, or you can hit us up on our Facebook page as well, Nomadic Traveler Podcast at gmail.com. No, that's the email. Nomadic Traveler Podcast on Facebook. You can get to us either way. Come up with some show ideas. If you can send us a show idea and we are able to use it, we will send you a book and a little prize pack with some stickers and some other stuff. So we got a little prize pack. And we also have leftover Halloween candy.
Yes.
So since it's getting to be that time of year, we will also send you some Halloween candy. So, because we didn't have very many trick-or-treaters tonight.
Yeah, and we'll post a picture of the books, too, so you guys know what you're going to get.
Yeah, so we're going to make a little video, and we'll post it on our Facebook page so you can kind of see what we're talking about. But it's, okay, the book from the SoFlo Weird Show is called Strange Florida, and it's written by Charlie Carlson, which was Mia's podcasting television show partner, right?
Yes, yeah. Not podcasting partner yet, but just, yeah.
Yeah. So it says, from Florida's master of the weird, Strange Florida, more weird and unusual stuff. Oh, Strange Florida 2. So it's by Charlie Carlson, the author of the bestseller Weird Florida.
Very cool.
So yeah, so we got several of these books. So we're going to make about 5 prize packs. So if you can come up with a good idea and you can get it to us, we're going to send you the Strange Florida book from the episode, the Nomadic Traveler Gets Weird, right?
Gets Weird in South Florida.
Gets Weird in South Florida, yeah.
Yeah.
So
check that episode out if you haven't seen it yet. It's really good.
Yeah, if you haven't heard that episode, it's a really good one. I really like it a lot. So,
and then also, I think we're going to post the steps to the rodent prevention on our Facebook page.
Yes.
So in case you guys missed any of it or you just want to see it.
Yeah.
So that way when you're in your camper, you can be doing it.
You can follow the steps. Yeah. That's probably a good idea.
We'll post those up there.
Absolutely.
Maybe we should do the winterization too. That way while you guys are going through your camper, you could have that ready too.
And if you ever have any questions or anything, feel free to hit us up on our Facebook page or send me an email. I am more than willing to try to help you out. So if you are trying to do something, you're like, did I forget something, or did I do something wrong, or why can't I get antifreeze to flow through my lines, or why is there still water in my lines, whatever, or how do I get my anode rod out, give me a call. I'm more than willing to try to help you out. Send us an email, send us a message on Facebook, and I will get a hold of you one way or another, and we will try to figure out whatever problem you may be having.
Sounds great.
Because we are here to help.
Yeah, we love to hear from you guys.
Yes, we do. So, and I think that's all we got for this week. Sorry it went long. We're trying to make our show shorter, but dang it, we can't do it.
But we like to talk.
So, and we got to fit all the information in. So,
Yeah,
if
so
we
it's good
cut
stuff.
off like how to get rid of the mice, that would be bad. If we cut off how to, keep all the water out, that would be bad. If we cut
Yeah.
off how to antifreeze, that would be, so. I
But these are all, it's all quality. So.
it's tough, yeah. So,
All right.
We will see you guys next week.
Bye.